evening, ladies and gentlemen and H-Town Spinners. This is the H-Town Spin with your host, John.
And Andy G.
And tonight, guys, we have a shitload of stuff to discuss. Politics, everything going wrong in government and the state and stuff like that. So just want to kind of kick that off. Want to introduce you to my co-host, Andy G.
How's it going, everybody? Born and raised in Houston, Texas.
Really? That's all you're going to say? Hey, Joel, the producer.
Hey, thank you, Joel, the producer.
Podcast.
Okay,
So let me ask you this before we go any further. Andy, have you ever done any podcasting before?
Oh, no. This is actually the first podcast I've ever done.
Really? So what made you want to get into podcasting?
Just having those really deep discussions, those open-minded discussions that just go over all the topics.
Kind of piss people off?
No.
Because that's what this show does. Like, we're an opinionated show, so I'm sure that there's people that they either like it, they don't like it, but they get pissed off either way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, cool. So, your thoughts are more, are you, I don't want you to be ultra political or anything like that, but which way do you lean? Are you more of a Democratic type, or are you more of a liberal progressive, or are you more right wing, or are you in the middle?
I really don't have my beliefs on more one side than the other. I'm really open-minded in the sense of just what's best for the people and what's best interest for the greater good, really.
You know, I'm with you on that. And that's a great segue into my weekly rant. And actually, I don't even want to call it my weekly rant. I want to call it What Pisses John Off. And this week, let me tell you what pisses me off. What pisses me off is the fact that we have two parties of Congress, House of Representatives, Senators, and they can't get to the fucking table to take care of the needs of the American people. We have high unemployment. We have no relief. We have no stimulus checks. We have a dumbass in office that is confusing an executive order with a bill and stuff like that. It just really, really pisses me off. It frustrates me because there's 30 to 40 to 50 million people that need financial assistance from the government.
Rents due.
And they can't fucking get it. And it's like the title of my last show was Finger in the Ass. And you know what, Joel? I think this week it's going to be Finger in the Ass Part 2. Like, seriously. Because apparently Congress loves sticking their fingers in their ass because they can't fucking get this shit straight. And it pisses me the fuck off. And now
You have school starting.
We have school starting, and we have all these fucking congressmen and senators and the president trying to push kids back into school.
Yeah, my thing is that I'm concerned about just these kids' hygiene. I mean, when I was in second grade, I could barely keep my finger out of my nose. So, how are you going to keep these kids from just being in school, being safe, and not spreading the virus?
Like, you know what? That has been my biggest point. I think I made this point a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about this, that it's like kids don't understand social distancing. They don't know to wash their hands after they scratch their ass and stick their finger in their nose and shit. They don't know how to fucking do this shit. Even high school kids don't know how to do this shit.
And they're the most prone to just carry the virus. And
exactly.
They're going to be around these teachers and administration, and they're the most prone to the worst health benefits of the virus.
And so you have no masks. You have no clear-cut design on what 6 feet in a high school looks like. Did you see the picture from Georgia?
With all the students back in there.
Yeah, did you see that?
Did you see that like a rock concert.
That's literally what's going to happen in Texas. That's what's going to happen in Texas. I'm like, I saw that shit and I was like,
little kids are just always talking, screaming. It's just really hard to believe that they would even care about that.
Because that picture was not little kids. That picture was like a high school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if it's like that in high school, what the fuck do you think it's going to be like in in the elementary or even a child care.
Yeah, because especially with just the positive COVID results, it's just a matter of time just before it's widespread. And the thing that sucks about it the most is that, once one kid is infected, it just has a ripple effect on their family, their ability to actually go to work, and even if they hopefully even have the ability to work from home. So,
and I think we need to break that down. I think we need to spend a little bit of time on that, because I don't think that the listeners understand that if you are a working parent and you send a child to a child care and your child is perfectly healthy or something like that, but then there's a child in that child care that's not healthy.
Yeah.
What's the impact of that? Because maybe there's 50 kids, maybe there's 40 kids in that child care. So you have one child.
Then you have to trace everyone they interacted with.
Then they have to trace everybody. And then they have to quarantine all 30 or 40 or however many kids there are.
Yeah.
Right? And they have to go home.
Because it takes about 2 or 3 days to even show symptoms.
Yeah. And they have to go home. And then you go home to mommy or daddy that is in the corporate world. And they're doing all of their work at home. And they're doing Zoom meetings and stuff like that. And then you have mommy that has to take time out of her day to go check on her child that is COVID positive.
Yeah.
Right? And when daddy comes home and he goes checks on the child, now you have mommy and daddy that are also potentially infected.
Yeah, it's just one big ripple effect.
It's a huge ripple effect. And what's the time frame? I think it's 14 to 17 days, right?
Yeah, because first things first, they have to just get a test, and how many people really want to pay the $150, $200 for a quick response?
And so let me ask you. So just to enlighten our audience, why do people pay the $150, $200?
So you can get a fast turnaround on results versus having to wait 5 to 10 days for the free clinic result.
So let's play devil's advocate. Let's play devil's advocate. So say you don't take the $200 test.
Yeah.
And say you just go and you're in your car and you're at Walgreens or whatever, right? And you take this test and everything, and it comes back. They tell you the results will be back in 7 to 12 days.
And getting a 7-year-old to wait 5 hours just to take the test.
So that's 12 days that you as a parent can't work.
And trying to tell a 12-year-old to quarantine.
Exactly.
Sit still for 10 days.
Right. Now, it could be longer than 12 days. It could be 17 days.
Yeah.
Right? But most companies, if you as a good citizen go to your boss and say, hey, I think I was exposed to COVID-19, what is your boss going to say?
They'll come back into those results pretty much.
Not etched in stone, but what do you think your boss would, like, any common sense boss, what do you think they would say if you went to them and said,
and that's if they had the luxury of working from home.
I think I've been exposed to COVID-19 from my child. What do you think your boss would say?
They're definitely not going to allow them to work until they have results, or even be exposed to any other colleagues until there's some negative results coming back.
So basically, you're looking at 12 to 30 days, realistically.
Yeah.
Because, and I give that time frame to my audience because I want you guys to understand the symptoms are not going to show up for a good 3 to 14 days. That's the incubation period. So you go get tested, you get positive, or you find out you're positive, right?
My biggest thing is that the kids aren't even going to show that much symptoms because they're not prone to show symptoms, if anything. So you're going to have to wait until people that are more prone to the virus to show symptoms start showing symptoms, and then having to go backwards and figure out who they were exposed to in the first place, who probably were their kids. So it's going to have so much delay, tear up the process so much.
And it blows my mind that the outbreaks that are happening with the kids in school are happening in Republican-controlled states. Georgia, right? Florida, right? Texas.
Why do you think they're trying to push them back so?
Because it's because most of the Republican governors are following the guy in office, and they're so wanting to please him instead of looking at the data.
Yeah.
That it's clouding their judgment.
Because I think
Trump says go back to school,
online school,
and so we're going to go back to school.
But even with online school, how do you get a second grader to be focused on an online class?
Well,
a kindergartner.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Grader.
And unfortunately, I don't know that answer.
Yeah.
But I would think that with the online learning process, I think that every school would have the tools in place for the parents to do the learning and stuff like that for the kids. If it's a 2-year-old, you can't put him behind a desk in front of a computer for 8 hours because
absolutely not. They can't even stand still.
So maybe do it in 15-minute intervals, or maybe 30 minutes here, take a break, have a snack or something like that, and then let them get back to learning or something. But I think it needs to be adjusted per grade.
Yeah, absolutely. But then it just demands so much of the parent.
Exactly, which goes into, I like to say this when I'm trying to make a point is the point is the onion, right? So then you peel back the layers of the onion to get to the root cause. So this onion that we call kids going back to school, that's the onion. So layer 1 is childcare. So how do you handle that? How do you handle if you send your child to a childcare and there's 35 other kids there and 2 of those kids become infected with COVID? What do you do then?
It's literally putting them in the same situation they were in the classroom in the first place.
Well, yeah, but you literally have to close that location.
Yeah.
And you literally have to test all the kids, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to also factor in that, okay, you have 35 kids, 2 of them became infected. So now you have to go back and trace where these other 35 kids have been, who they've been in contact with. Of course, they've been in contact with mommy and daddy. Yeah. They've probably also been in contact with grandma, who is above the age of 60, most likely, right? Mm-hmm. Which those type of people are where? They are in what type of situation?
They're more prone
to catch COVID and probably die from it, unfortunately, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So then you got aunties, you got cousins and stuff like that. So it literally can spread from that little one daycare, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I've gone on record and said that this is the dumbest fucking idea in the history of ideas, is to send kids back to school. It doesn't make any fucking sense. I'm sorry, it doesn't. So you get all that, you find out that your child is COVID-19 positive.
Yeah, especially with just how much childcare costs. It just really puts the parents in a tough situation, just because they're really trying to figure out, okay, at the end of the day, not everyone can work remotely.
They're not, yeah, exactly.
So then that starts opening the door of, okay, that is why they're opening these schools back up, because a lot of these parents just don't have the option to have childcare or leave them remote. So now they have the idea of, how are we going to take care of these children while they have to work. Which
is why I said at the beginning of the show that we're going to talk about the bullshit going on, because if you can't, based on what you're saying, Andy, if you have all of these issues and you still have Congress that hasn't came up with an idea on how to fund all this, it's bullshit, guys. And you are jeopardizing the lives of people, not just mommy and daddy. Now you are jeopardizing the lives of kids because you want them to go back to school.
Yeah.
So it's something to think about while we take a commercial break, and we will be back with you very, very shortly. All right, guys, welcome back to the H-Town Spin with John and my boy
Andy G.
And basically, we were just continuing our conversation on
with just childcare and just, especially with all the kids going back to school, even if they needed childcare after school programs, or even with the option that was in place of just online school, it's really putting parents in a really tight spot of figuring out, a lot of people aren't able to work from home. So especially with the economy opening back up in some capacity, people are going to start having to go back to the positions that weren't available at certain points. How are these people going to be able to just financially figure out that child care situation if the kids have to work from home?
And that is a very, very valid point. And I wish I had the answer for all this shit, and that I could easily just say, just snap your fucking fingers and this shit will go away, right? But that was part of my rant, earlier in the show, is that, Congress is so short-sighted and they're not looking at everything that could be, that's going on. I wish I had an answer for that, that parent that's making, $80,000 and they have to work at home, and then they got little Johnny that's 5 years old and he has COVID, and how do you balance that? I don't know. I wish this was an answer.
Especially people that work in hospitality, transportation, other industries.
Exactly.
They can't work from home.
Exactly.
So especially with the kids having to go back, they're going to have to pick up, the financial of, just childcare, and those options just aren't as safe, even sending the kids back. So it's just one big vicious cycle. And
I'm one of those working people. I mean, I have a secular job. My job happens to be in hospitality. Producer Joel has a hospitality job. So we're all affected to some degree, but that's my biggest issue is Congress is twiddling their thumbs and they got the finger up their ass, and it's like they just don't. I don't want to say they don't care, because I think ultimately they all care.
But no one really has the answer.
But nobody has an answer on how to fix this problem. I mean, the
crazy thing is that it's a world pandemic, and you would think that everyone would have a little more sense of urgency, because the reality is that the kids going back to school, the kids having an education,
the kids being forced to go back to school. Because my biggest argument is when I hear parents or people say, well, the kids need social interaction, right? Get them a fucking Zoom meeting. Get 5 of their closest friends and get them all on Zoom and shit like that, and let them talk virtually. That's, honestly, I mean, that's probably not the best way to go.
It isn't like this is going to last forever, hopefully.
But based on where we are with this pandemic, if you have to have kids on a Zoom meeting for them to interact with each other, then that's the best we can do right now.
I think the crazy thing about COVID too is that usually change in a society happens at a very slow pace, and it makes people comfortable, and it makes it really easy for us to adjust.
But why does it have to be a slow pace? Why can't people just be proactive? Why can't they look and say, you know what? I think this shit's going to happen, so this
is our reality. What can we do about it? And that's the thing. So many new ideas need to emerge during these times, because, we're already seeing after 5 months of quarantine that businesses are starting to fine-tune their processes to adjust and to survive in these conditions. So it's kind of sad and unfortunate that we're literally waiting till days before school starts to figure this stuff out, when we already knew that fall was going to start at the beginning of this quarantine.
I mean, we live in Houston. For our listeners, we live in Houston. And there's businesses in Houston, bars and clubs, that have not necessarily been food establishments, that have literally gone and bought food equipment, like stoves and freezers and stuff like that to make themselves food establishments.
Absolutely.
In order for them to stay open, right?
And to survive at that.
That's proactive. That's like, well, what can I do to, yes, I'm in a fucked up situation, but what can I do to make myself or my business thrive or do some kind of business during this fucked up time, right? But like you said, Andy, it throws me off when you have school districts that are not even remotely thinking, how can we do schooling? I will say this, though. I saw the news the other day that there is a school in Pennsylvania. It's a private school. It's not a public school.
Yeah.
They are setting up outside learning.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like they have tents and stuff like that. They have like 8 to 10 tents, and the
sounds super hot.
Well, Pennsylvania is eastern, so it's not as hot as it would be down here.
Yeah.
Now, will that program in the eastern part of the United States work in Texas? Fuck no, it's 99 degrees at
everyone's
7
be
o'clock at night.
Sweat.
Ain't shit ain't gonna happen, right? But I like the idea. I like the mindset that they're like, okay, and each tent can only hold.
We knew this was coming. What can we do about it? Yeah.
And they're being proactive. And that's, and I think being proactive is what's going to help people not just survive, but do very well during all of this, right? Each tent that they have set up can only hold 15 students.
Yeah.
So there's no overcrowding. And there's enough space in the acreage that they have outside the school that people can social distance.
Yeah.
Right? Great idea. Like, I literally was sitting at my home applauding that when I saw it on TV. I was like, you know what? That's a great fucking idea.
Yeah, because I remember, like, in 4th grade, there was so much overcrowding that we didn't have assigned seating. It was pretty much first come, first serve. So the fact that we would have to fight for that last chair if we were late or whatever, I could only imagine
musical chairs, right?
Yeah, so I can only imagine like the safety of like the teachers and the administration because I mean they're more prone to suffer through this COVID outbreak.
Exactly, guys, because what I don't think people realize is that your average age. What's the average age of a school teacher? Producer Joel. 25. So they're nowhere near the mandate that the CDC says that, if you're over this particular age, you're more likely to get it and suffer a fatality, right? You're 25 years old. So you're not in that realm, but there's a lot of teachers in this country that are over 50.
Oh, absolutely.
Which makes it, doubly hard. Because now you're dealing with kids that are in daycare. You're dealing with parents that have to work at home, and because
now they're going to have to start patrolling
closed,
masks.
And it just
the kids are already obnoxious as it is.
You got 4 layers of the onion right there, guys. Like 4 layers. Like every solution there's 3 extra layers that you have to work through.
And you've already seen the stores and the restaurants already struggle to promote
25
social
and
distancing.
50%. Yeah, it's and okay, and a lot of the restaurants are only operating at 25 to 50%, guys. And if you haven't been to a restaurant where you have a 500-person capacity.
The schools have already been at like 120% capacity.
Yeah, it's crazy, guys. It's crazy, and it's really stupid that you even have politicians even floating the idea that it's acceptable for kids to go back to school, because it's really not. Virtual learning is the best way. If the school districts are giving the parents the computer and the academic information that they need,
yeah,
then there's nothing wrong with a child going to school at home and doing all of their learning virtually. If anything, when I was in high school, I would have killed to stay home and learn.
Yeah.
Producer Joel, you?
Oh, I'm in this. Oh,
I'm just asking you a question because you and I went to high school together, so it's
I
like
would have rather been at school. I mean, I would not want to spend time any of my family members if this was going on right now. I would rather be at school.
Yeah,
Why?
I would rather be at school too.
Are you serious?
what? I mean, no.
Yeah.
Have
Let
you
me
spent
hold
time
on.
with your
Hold on.
family?
I know. But let me ask both of you, like individually.
I mean, if I was a kid, I mean, I'm not a kid, obviously. But if COVID happened when we were going to school, I would beg to go to school.
Okay.
I would literally beg to go to school anywhere not to be around my family.
So Andy, why if you were 17 years old
Yeah.
and COVID hit while you were 17 years old, first of all, would you want to go to school or stay home? And then what's your reason behind whatever your answer is?
Well, to think about where I was when I was 17, I was a senior in high school. Mm-hmm. So to picture experiencing my senior year in high school, just so much nuance, and looking back with that being over 10 years ago, just how much nostalgic elements there was to that, I would have risked it all to have those memories again.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking about prom, formal,
But
state
what
champion.
if prom was canceled because of COVID?
Well, yeah, I would imagine all that.
What if you had to do a virtual prom?
Yeah, I mean, with all the technology these kids have,
That
with
means
social
you would have
media,
to virtual fuck.
Oh shit, man, who knows where that
I
go?
know I'm off mic, but I'm going to say this. If this had happened when I graduated from high school, technology would be like 50 million years into the future. 'Cause we would, I mean, seriously, we would have figured, the internet would have happened the next day.
Yeah, when someone's hungry, they're gonna figure something out.
Yeah, we would have figured
Right, but I'm just saying though, because I mean,
we were at the time when the internet was just starting.
Yeah,
Oh, the internet would have happened like in 2 days. Literally in 2 days. If COVID happened at that time, the internet would be just as advanced
but
then as it is now.
okay,
Yeah.
so
I mean, they still had stuff back there. Like whenever I was in middle school or whatever, we had AOL Messenger in random chats.
You got mail.
Yeah, just
I
with
love the disc. The discs were amazing.
yeah.
My mom used to love it.
I know.
Yeah, so just like adding random peers within my grade, like we were pretty much like the people that grew up at the social media boom.
But if you were okay, so if you're in high school, okay, COVID hits right now, right? And they cancel your prom, they cancel the rest of your senior year, they cancel your graduation,
Probably got
like,
a little
all
bit of
that.
depression.
Yeah, but so you would risk all of that with possibly getting infected.
I mean, my biggest thing is that I think a lot of people at that age, they don't think about the consequences, especially when you think about just how reckless kids can be. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, children, especially in public school, they're going through their trials and tribulations. So especially just figuring themselves out and, you know, being told from the top down, especially from federal government that doesn't really even have a plan of action. I mean, it's pretty much putting it all on the parents, and the parents don't even have the right answers because there's just so much going on in society right now that, you know, I feel really bad for parents in the sense
Is
that
it because the parents are uninformed, or is it because
they're uninformed, so they have to just assume. They have to promise their kid a better tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm with that, but then you gotta.
If the world was
factor
going to end tomorrow, would you tell your kid?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm very upfront and honest with my child. My child, by the way, is 28, and I still have to tell my daughter that this is how the world works.
Yeah.
Right? Because my daughter looks at me and like, well, Dad, can I borrow this? Can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? I'm like, I'm not a bank, guys. I'm not a bank. I'm your parent. I still work. You know, I work hard and, you know, blah, 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 blah. Right?
But that's what I imagine a lot of parents told their kids like the first few weeks of quarantine. But did they imagine it was going to last this long? I mean, I don't know.
I did. Because I knew the ineptitude of our government, and I knew how our government worked, that we weren't going to have an answer in 30 days or 60 days. I knew that. I literally kind of expected it to last as long as it has.
All right. Well, yeah, definitely something to think about, and we'll take a really quick commercial break. Welcome back to the H-Town Spin with Andy G and John Floyd. We were just previously talking about just, the impact of this quarantine on the kids, with their social skills. Like, what do you think?
Man, look, that's a delicate topic, because that topic alone could be 2 hours, right? My thought process is, if you're going to have kids at home and they're going to be homeschooling, and you as a parent are worried about them having social interaction with their kids, my thought process is do what the grown-ups do. Do Zoom. Do a Zoom meeting. Do a Zoom type of play, whatever, and let them talk on a computer with their friends, because as of right now, that's the only option that we have that makes sense.
Did you ever take any team leadership classes in middle school?
I didn't. I should have. I didn't. But
it was actually required whenever I was in 8th grade. So I mean, especially with the kind of technology we have now.
Home ec.
Oh, home ec, yeah. Yeah, I think
I know how to cook.
Especially with the video chats and whatnot, it would be interesting if somewhere within the school dynamic, that especially that the ability of these kids to lose their social abilities through this whole social distancing, that our educators somehow help navigate these kids to still interact with each other and really still build those social skills that will really benefit their career down the line.
But that's what's confusing me, because you have all these big major corporations that are requiring their employees to do Zoom meetings, right? Do virtual Zoom meetings, right? But that technology, for some reason, has not transferred down to the school level. I don't understand that.
Well, let me ask you: did you go to school in the city or in the suburbs,
city,
or out in the country?
City.
In the city. How was that as a?
I mean, I loved going to high school. Producer Joel and I went to high school together.
Did y'all have sports?
We did.
Yeah, because what's crazy is that, with me living in the city, I grew up in the suburbs, so it was really easy to just have some type of social scene and really build those social skills, because we had electives, sports, after school activities.
But you can do a social Zoom party, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you can, if you get 50 of your friends and you're.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think
you can do shit virtually.
I think someone from the top down has to, host those, so the educators, because big picture, they definitely need to put the education, the curriculum first, but still those social skills is what's going to benefit these people in their careers in the future, for sure.
Exactly. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I don't want a child, being in the corner by himself, just, looking at a wall and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's the reason I was asking about if you went to school in the city or the suburbs.
But there's, but with every situation in life, you adapt.
Yeah, absolutely.
You learn to adapt.
Because there was this one school that one of my fellow coworkers used to go to, and they didn't have any sports. They didn't have any curricular activities.
Those are called magnet schools.
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm. And what was crazy was I was just all I'm sorry, but besides, the education, what was the culture? How did you meet people? How did you interact with anyone that was in your grade? And they were telling me how every morning, I think 30 minutes when they first started class and 30 minutes before they left for the day, they would have people just sit at random tables that were assigned at random and just make sure that they would just conversate and interact. They would distinguish different topics every day, and it just kind of built those interactions and those connections that we could definitely be losing, especially during social distancing.
Okay, I'm going to interject, and I usually don't interject on these levels, but I feel like John's missing out on something here. The high school that we went to was Sam Houston Senior High School.
Yeah,
it was basically a college campus.
Yeah.
We had Future Farmers of America.
Yeah.
We had a beauty school.
Metal shop.
We had a metal shop. I mean, it was an advanced school for the
Auto
80s.
mechanics.
Yeah, for the 80s, it was an
Oh, yeah,
advanced
it's a
school.
lot of technical
So there
skills.
was a lot of technical stuff going on at our school. So anything that you could possibly get into at Sam Houston, you were able to do so.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and we were the largest high school at the time. I don't know if they still do.
We're probably not now.
Yeah, but we were the largest high school in the state of Texas at that time. 1,600 students
Oh, wow. Yeah.
going to school. It was basically a college campus.
It was.
It really.
Yeah,
it was
absolutely,
it was prep. It was the only time that I felt like in Houston that this was a school that was preparing kids for what college would be like later on.
Or even a career.
Yeah,
like that,
even
yeah.
a career.
That wasn't their path.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that
this is the only time I'm gonna check out.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to remind, especially John. I just wanted to remind him that the high school we went to was a pretty advanced high school at the time. So
now I will take that one step further because my sophomore year of Sam Houston, I left Sam Houston.
Well, why'd you leave?
And I begged my mother to send me to a high school named Barbara Jordan High School for Careers, which is a magnet school.
Yeah.
So I can tell you everything there is to know about a magnet school. When you go to a magnet school, before they even give you a schedule, they make you take an aptitude test.
And they're just trying to figure out interests or your
They
strengths?
call it an IQ test.
Okay,
so it's where to place you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So there was 10 different things that I could have done. I chose air conditioning and refrigeration, right? But there's no sports in that school.
Yeah.
None. Yours, if I was a member of the basketball team and say I played for
Do people make scholarships there?
No. But they do, but it's through what your
Like technical area, yeah.
yes, what's your technical area. So say I play basketball for Sam Houston. I could still play, but I would have to play at Sam Houston. I could go to school at Barbara Jordan.
Yeah.
But then I would have to leave Barbara Jordan and go practice and do all that for Sam Houston because Sam Houston was my home school.
Oh, okay.
So every magnet school, you have a home school.
So it would take up all your extracurricular activities.
So all your extracurricular activities would be at your home school. It wouldn't be at your magnet school. Your magnet school is just for your learning.
Oh, okay. I see you. Okay, yeah.
So what we did during lunch, we didn't have a recess, but we had a courtyard. So we would play games. We played, red light, green light. We played, different, imagine juniors and seniors playing red light, green light in the courtyard.
Yeah.
Okay, let that be a picture. But then in the cafeteria arm, because it was a cafeteria / auditorium, so it was a cafetorium, we'd have lunch, but then we'd play spades. We'd play dominoes, right?
And the cool thing about that is that that's all stuff that you could potentially do online if they did go to school.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a great environment. At that time, it was 99% African American.
Yeah.
I was literally the only white person in that school, aside from a teacher.
Yeah.
Like I was the only I was the only white person.
Well, you know what? That kind of brings up a question, though, because, okay, if going to school from home is the safest option, maybe there is this big fear about scholarships. Because realistically, how can you get a scholarship through besides education, for athletes if you're going to be working from home?
Well, and to add on to that point, I think that's why you have so much discord or discussion with college athletics now, where you have all these commissioners of like each Power 5 conference.
Yeah.
That's talking about, well, do we want to do sports this year, or do we want to postpone until spring?
Especially those seniors, juniors in high school that, this is either going to make or break their college careers.
But the thing that I want people to understand out there in the world is just because you have a college program that's postponing their sports until spring,
Yeah.
What happens if COVID lasts until spring? What do you do then? Right? So I don't think, you should put a time limit on it. I think you should say we're going to suspend it until further notice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because now...
But I can see where the fear comes from, because especially whenever the Houston Rodeo was canceled, all these FFA students that were going to put their livestock on auction were definitely concerned about all their...
and I feel bad for those. I feel bad for those kids, because those kids worked literally their entire life to have an animal that can be sold in order for them to pay for college and stuff like that. And then to be told that they're not going to be able to do it this year, that's crushing, man. I mean, that hurts.
Yeah, because allegedly...
I mean, they could have done that virtual. They literally, with so much... I guess the thing that bothers me
there's a lot
about
of
all of
effects,
this is that there's so much technology in the world.
We're just not using it
But
effectively.
yeah, exactly. You said it. We're just not.
We're just
using
waiting
it
for someone
effectively.
to step up, to come up to a decision. When
And there's
realistically,
nobody. And
we have to be the innovators.
Exactly. And there's nobody doing that. There's nobody in the presidents. There's nobody in the vice president. There's nobody in the Congress and the Senate. There's nobody doing this.
Yeah,
And
it's almost like people have the mentality that everyone is just waiting for a cure so we can just go back to the regular.
Exactly.
When we've had so much opportunity to advance our procedures or processes across the board.
And honestly speaking, there's not going to be there's not going to be a regular anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because COVID has taught, if it's taught us one thing, that the norm is out the fucking window. That's gone.
And it can change like a
That's
snap
never
of the
going to
finger.
be. Like when there's a vaccine that comes and stuff like that, that vaccine, yes, is going to eradicate the virus, but we're not going to go back to how we used to be.
Yeah.
You're still going to see people with face masks. You're still going to see people when they're standing at the grocery store. It's like, well, I don't want to get too close to him because I don't know.
Yeah, the definition of personal space has already been up in the air. This is just taking it kind of up a notch.
COVID has definitely taught us social distancing. It has taught us the importance of a mask, of wearing a mask.
And I missed my concerts. How's that?
Yeah,
how's that going to work out?
Well, because now, like artists now are still getting the same amount of money to do a virtual concert. So from the artist aspect, they're not losing any money.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
I am as a lover of a live show.
Yeah.
Am I getting my money's worth? Probably not. But the artist is getting paid. And that's the way the system is. They're going to get paid. They're going to get their money, top dollar, Yeah,
it was actually crazy. Tomorrowland, the music festival in Europe, they actually ended up still doing it, but it was a virtual tour.
Yeah.
And they did all these like graphic effects and everything. I personally wasn't able to see it yet, but just from seeing the promotions or whatnot, I was just all like, just the thought of going to Tomorrowland is insane. So,
but would it make you want to go to Tomorrowland?
I think I would still want to experience it in person.
But you wouldn't want to. But would you want to pay the same amount of money?
Oh, absolutely not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
because you're paying for the experience.
And that's the effect of COVID. It's like, yes, they'll do a show, and they're still going to try to charge you what they would charge you if they were doing it live.
Yeah.
But there should be a discount if they're doing it virtual.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah, because there's so much reduced overhead and costs.
But nobody's talking about that. So guess what? There's not going to be a discount because nobody's talking about it. When you got 5 million, 10 million people that's talking about, well, if you're doing a virtual, do I get a discount?
Oh, yeah.
That's when the discount will come in. But right now, 2 people. 2 people are talking about it.
Yeah.
Right? Ain't shit going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just the realism of the situation.
I guess the one thing I do feel bad about the whole education during COVID right now is that, I give it to the teachers. They're really hard workers and having to pretty much take care of so many obnoxious children for so many days. They need a break. Sometimes they have their own sick day.
Have you ever thought that maybe, and I'm just I'm not saying this true, so don't get mad at me or not like that, people. But have you ever thought that maybe the parents don't realize just how bad their kids are?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
That's
so
why they
now,
want to send them back.
and so now they've had them for 4 months.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh my God, I gotta send you back to I gotta send you back to
I
school.
need a vacation.
I need a vacation from you because you're a bad little motherfucker."
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Welcome to the teacher's world, because that's what teachers go through. They have to fucking deal with your badass fucking kid for 6 months out of the year.
And how does that science teacher just need a day off and he can't put
Exactly.
on Bill Nye the Science Guy?
Exactly.
On a Zoom call?
And that's what I tell people. I'm like, guys, you're little Johnny, little Susie, they're not angels and angelettes. They fuck up shit. Sorry.
You were the teacher for the past 4 months, so now you know what the
Exactly.
teacher was talking about this whole time.
And so I was sharing this like 2 days ago. I'm like, maybe parents are just tired of dealing with their kids for the last 4 months, and maybe they're just eager. And the person I was talking to was like, you know what? That's a very valid point. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not saying all parents, but there are a majority of parents that probably have unruly kids.
The teacher-parent conferences probably need to be with like a therapist, like checking in with
probably.
the parents, like,
yes,
what's going on?
I'm with you on that. Yes, absolutely.
Are you okay?
Mr. Jones, I brought my therapist with me just to make sure that we get all this taken care of. But yeah, I mean, I'm a believer in that, and I'm probably going to get some backlash from some people, and that's okay. But that's just because I know how I was when I was that age. I was a little brat. I'm not gonna lie. Me, with a halo on my head, now I was a brat back then. So I can imagine what parents go through.
Yeah, especially just like the school rallies and whatnot. Just it does suck that these kids aren't having those school experiences that are really gonna take them far, but. Hopefully this whole COVID thing.
They can always do a virtual prom.
Virtual prom.
You just can't fuck virtually. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we all know what happens on prom night, right?
Yeah.
Literally, I mean.
I don't know anything about that.
You don't know anything about prom night? I missed my prom. I'm sorry. I did. So I never got to take part of any of that, but.
I kind of feel like prom for me was like social distance because no one knew how to dance. So everyone was just holding each other's shoulders.
You just need that
3 feet apart.
You just need that one drunk person on prom
to
come out there. Like you know what you need? You need a Chris Farley to just come out there and do this shit right here.
Yeah.
And
well, you know what? They got the TikTok dances now, so it's a lot different now.
And start shit. Like Chris Farley was TikTok before TikTok.
Yeah, because we didn't have TikTok teaching us how to dance.
No, Chris. if you ever go, any of my listeners, if you guys ever go, if you don't know who Chris Farley is, Google Chris Farley and look at his shit on Saturday Night Live, and you would understand that he was a walking, living, breathing TikTok. Seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Producer Joel's laughing at me and everything because he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I can only imagine how the hip teachers are going to be going forward, especially through all this. Okay, everyone, add me on TikTok. And
Did you have any hip hop? Did you have any hip teachers when you were in school?
I would want to say no, and the only reason I say that is
were they all old and
no, they weren't really like different age groups or anything like that. It's just that they were just really by the book. I think it kind of the individuality of my teacher was what movie they would show us on a rainy day.
You guys had rainy day movies?
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely.
Joel, did we ever have rainy day movies when we were in school? We did.
Yes.
When
really?
the TV came in on that wheelie chair,
where was I?
I knew it was game time.
I have no idea. You already
No, but that was usually. They usually reserved those TVs for like history or governments. Then they showed some cheesy.
Yeah, and what's funny though is that
shit.
I was so oblivious being a little kid that now that I think about it, the teacher was probably just hungover. Probably just wasn't having a good day.
Didn't want to teach you something. Watch this shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Because I don't remember. Because I don't remember watching.
I'm gonna chime in here real quick. The first movie that I watched in class was Tom Cruise's Legend. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Was
I Am Legend?
No, not I Am Legend.
Oh.
Legend.
That was Will Smith.
Oh, okay.
That was Tom Cruise.
He had an entanglement
Yeah,
with
entanglement.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but that was like fantasy. I think it was his like third film at the time. He was super young.
Yeah.
No, wasn't
And
that
it
when
was-
he was a vampire, right?
No, that's
an Interview with a Vampire.
Interview with a Vampire. No one Google
That
it.
was him
Legend.
and Brad Pitt, right?
Legend. There's a unicorn involved. There's a devil with big horns. There's a
That is
Weird
so against
storyline.
Scientology.
Yeah.
So
Weird
against
story.
That's before he
Scientology.
got recruited.
yeah.
Was that before? Because he's been with him for like 50 years now.
Yeah, I watched that in class, and I fell in love with the movie. And it was the only time that I liked Tom
Did you
Cruise.
fall in love with Tom?
No, I didn't like Tom Cruise that way.
Really?
I never did.
Oh, that movie looks a little spooky.
Yeah, it's spooky
For 1985.
Yeah, it's spooky, but it's a great film. It's very dark and very It's
I
in
don't
the
know. It
fantasy
got
realm.
38% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did.
See?
But don't.
See?
There are times that you listen to Rotten Tomatoes, and there's
Oh, yeah.
Andy G is all up on Rotten Tomatoes.
okay. So that's the only thing that I would. That's what we watched in class one time, and I'm like,
Oh, it's on
movie
Hulu right now. I'm watching
Well,
I was for the first time I was scared of the devil.
My
The devil in that movie
teachers-
was
it.
horrifically scary.
These pictures are spooky.
The only time that my teachers brought out that little TV on the little cart was in government and economics, and then we had to sit there and watch some boring shit. So I'm like, okay.
By the time I was in 12th grade, I almost knew every line to Bill Nye the Science Guy.
I've never seen Bill Nye the Science Guy. That's the
What? That's negligence right there.
thing. I mean, I'm 51, so it's like, dude, what the fuck am I watching Nickelodeon for? It's like shit.
Oh, never mind. That came out in the 90s.
Exactly. That was like 30 years ago.
20s, good lord, you never watched. I watched Bill Nye when I was in my 20s. I'm like,
I
that's
didn't.
interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I
That's so
didn't.
funny. Yeah.
I wasn't into science and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I remember what you were into. No, you
Yeah.
definitely wasn't science.
yeah, it definitely wasn't science.
Bill Nye probably needs to come out
Biology.
with like a new episode. This is social distancing.
I mean, I've never even watched Dora the Explorer. Like,
Oh, shit.
seriously.
Why
Like,
would you?
Oh, yeah.
exactly. But no, we're talking about stuff like in the 90s and stuff.
Yeah.
When was Dora
Okay,
the
that would
Explorer?
make you like super creepy. if you watched
Exactly.
Yeah, nah. I wasn't like in high school when that came
So
out.
I stay away from Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. I'm like, okay.
The thing about Nickelodeon is that I really feel like you get like a few less IQ points after you watch it. Like I'll be watching SpongeBob.
I'm sorry. I'm going to interject. Why did you say that? Because Fairly Odd Parents, which I loved, Danny Phantom, which I loved.
I love Rugrats.
I've never
I love
watched any of that.
Rugrats.
Yeah.
Rocco's Modern Life. Oh my god,
Hey Arnold.
Rocco's Modern Life was so full of sexual innuendos.
I will tell you.
Ridiculous.
I will
you know,
tell you,
I think
I
Nickelodeon
watched
changed
Sports
though.
Center.
Whenever they
Sports
started
Center
using
was like
correct
the shit.
edges. Like every cartoon used to have jagged edges on Nickelodeon. The
Yeah.
second they actually started making straight lines and actual
Now I will watch.
animation, that's
I'll
when it
watch
started getting
Nickelodeon, but after like 10 o'clock when
I
they have
watched-
like the sitcoms on and
Yeah,
stuff, like that,
I
I'm
watched,
like, okay.
Sponge- I watched SpongeBob when it first came out, and I'm like, I think I like this show. Then I got bored.
Yeah.
I get bored easily, but I mean, when it first came out, I'm like, this is funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's
yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I can't know.
It was hilarious. Fairly Odd Parents was my jam, though. I loved Fairly Odd Parents.
I
That
grew
was my
up.
jam.
Oh yeah.
I grew up on Beavis and Butthead,
Okay.
and I love Beavis and
I
Butthead.
hated Beavis and Butthead.
Beavis and Butthead was my shit,
And
and
Beavis and
that's-
Butthead remind me of those two
and-
guys that actually for change outside the gas station.
and I am so happy that
Beavis
Mike.
and Butthead reminded me of his neighbors
Yeah.
when he lived at. Yeah, his neighbors were terrible.
I am so happy that Mike Judge
when he
has
was 16,
decided
he had the same neighbors. Yeah, Beavis and Butthead reminded me of his neighbors. That's why I hated.
I'm
the
so
show.
happy that Beavis and Butthead is coming back. Thank you, Mike Judge.
I am not.
But they're gonna ruin it. Just watch.
No, it's a reboot.
not
It's
yet.
a reboot.
Nostalgia
I mean,
has been going for quite some time.
Okay, The Simpsons have been on for 35, 40 years. Okay, it's time for them to go. I'm sorry.
No, it's actually pretty funny. Have you seen the newest episodes?
I am a big fan of Seth MacFarlane, though. I do like Family Guy.
Because they're competing with Family Guy now. So, like, I mean, they have those zingers.
But Seth MacFarlane is a mastermind, dude. I mean, he does so many different voices. It's crazy.
Yeah.
He does Stewie. Bro, he does the voice of Stewie. I mean, come on. Stewie.
Okay, I'm really trying to stay out of this, but...
And Peter.
Oh, yeah.
He does
But,
Peter, too.
yeah, I haven't watched The Simpsons in a while.
And who's the
They had Homer and Marge got divorced.
Who's the guy on Family Guy? There's Peter. There's Stewie.
Homer got into an entanglement.
Did he?
Yeah.
Who's the guy on Family Guy?
I'm going to have to watch that episode. Did he get into it in the
The auto parts guy.
Within like the past 3 years. Yeah.
The auto parts guy.
Quagmire?
Yes. So Seth does
Auto parts?
he does those three guys. He
Yeah.
does Stewie, Peter, and Quagmire.
Yeah.
And he was talking on a talk show, and he said he was breaking down like how he has to do the show, like how he has to do the voices. And they asked him, so if you do a table read and you have to do all 5 voices, he's like, well, yeah. He's like, I just do it like this. He's like, he does Peter.
That's what schizophrenia is.
He does Peter, then he turns around and does Stewie, then he does Quagmire, then he does all these other voices and stuff like that. And he's like, usually we do them separate. Like
it was not me, it was Patricia.
He's like, I'll do all Peter, and I'll do all Stewie, and I'll do all Quagmire.
Yeah.
He's like, but if it's one read where they're all in the same scene, he's like, I'm literally doing all these different voices and everything. I'm like, okay, that's true talent.
That is true talent.
That is true talent, and
Definitely true talent.
When I heard that, I was like, you know what? I applaud him, and I'm happy.
Okay. Well, my camera died.
No.
Well, my phone died,
No.
so I didn't get. I don't think I have the video. I have lots of pictures.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna download some pictures.
Pictures,
to the web.
guys, will be posted on all of the social media platforms, either by myself or by producer Joel.
And what?
And that, I think, was a pretty entertaining show. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you guys have 2 minutes. You still have 2 minutes. What are you gonna do in the last 2 minutes?
So my last 2 minutes, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to kill 2 birds with one stone. I'm going to say very briefly how happy I am that Kamala Harris is the new vice presidential running mate for Joe Biden. I definitely think that her and Joe Biden are going to bring a necessary united change for this country. But then I'm also going to...
He needs to start promoting more. Get that message across.
I'm also going to laugh. I agree. But they just started, so let's give them about a week to 10 days. Let's see where they are.
Yeah, but he's been running since last
But
November.
he just added this new... So let's see where they are next
Yeah,
Thursday.
let's see, yeah.
But I'm also going to laugh at the notion that our president wants to float the idea of having his face on Mount Rushmore, and the fact that he is pushing for Kanye West to be a third member of the presidential race to kind of take votes.
Sounds like a boy band.
Exactly. To kind of take votes away from Joe Biden and stuff like that. So I'm laughing on both of those because I think that's really ludicrous and really stupid on the part of the guy in office. And I really don't want to even flatter him by calling him president because for the last year and a half, he hasn't been. He's denied the COVID-19. He has denied the science. He's denied the data. He has told people that the virus is just going to disappear and that people should resort to drinking bleach to possibly get rid of any COVID-19 infection. So that's a joke to me. I'm sorry. It is. And
I think bottom line, we just need someone to bring this nation together.
And that's where I think Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will do that. And, you know, guys, this is a free country. You guys are more than willing or more than able to disagree with me. You can disagree with me on the H-Town Spin Facebook page, our Twitter page, our Instagram page, or you can go to www.htownspin.com, and you can leave your comments on there. Any questions for Andy G and I, we'll be more than happy to answer on next week's show. So from that, Andy G, you want to say anything before we go?
Well, yeah, it was great for you to have me on here.
You're family now, bro. You're a member of the
discuss some more.
H-Town Spin, bro. You're a spinner. You are a spinner. Producer Joe, you want to add anything?
No, I'm done.
You're done?
And so are you.
So, you know what, guys?
It's a wrap.
Producer Joel says I gotta say bye. So,
Rent's due.
get out and vote, guys. Please get out and vote. And I'll talk to you next week.
Andrew out.